Do you know that you're a special girl?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because I have a girl brain and a boy body.
Identifying as a female does not make you one.
Correct. I would hope that you would have compassion for Kiera Bell, who's a 23-year-old girl who was confused with her identity. At 14, she read on the internet about something about transsexual. She thought, well, maybe that's what I am. She ended up getting these puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones. She had her breast amputated. But here's what ultimately she says now. And this is a very insightful decision from someone who made a mistake, but was led to believe this was a good thing by the medical community.
I'm delighted at the judgment of the court today. It was a judgment that will protect vulnerable people. I wish it had been made for me before I embarked on the devastating experiment of puberty blockers.
At 16, Kiera was desperate to be a boy. She was given drugs to delay puberty, then male hormones. Clinicians say for some children this is the right move, but Kiera believes it was a mistake for her.
The discussions were very brief and there was no real investigation into why I had gender dysphoric feelings and how I got to that stage. I spoke briefly of depression and anxiety, but again it was kind of assumed by everyone that transitioning would alleviate that.
This just happened. Biden admin Rachel Levine wants to empower children to pursue sex reassignment surgery. As a trans man, I insist that this is dangerous to encourage and should be illegal. Making the choice to transition is not something that should be taken lightly. I didn't start testosterone until I was 24, and I didn't undergo any surgery until I was 29. The healing process was incredibly painful, and I nearly lost a nipple. I cannot imagine children having to go through this. Growing up is hard enough already. If you're feeling confused about your gender, seek therapy before you make any big decisions. Puberty blockers can have long-term effects in developing children, which can lead to future dysfunctions and permanent damage.
There's gonna be drag kids in the world, and I'm one of them.
If you want to be a drag queen and your parents don't let you, you need new parents.
Mayo Clinic say puberty blockers may have a long-term impact on growth, bone growth, density, and future fertility. Scott, your warning to those who are encouraging and glamorizing this in children.
Well, the first thing I would say is shame on you. It seems like the LGBTQ, which, you know, I'm a lesbian that medically transitioned. I mean, I am the rainbow. Somehow we have lost our adults along the way, and we have allowed what we think, what we feel, what we want to be a narrative. And the narrative is not true. Puberty blockers are absolutely dangerous. It's causing early onset osteoporosis. It's causing lungs and hearts the size of 12-year-olds and 18-year-olds. When parents figure out what is happening to children, there's going to be rioting in the street. They're going to have like pitchforks and throwing stuff into doctors' offices. What's happening to kids right now is very, very wrong.
Young kids getting gender affirming care. They don't tell you what that is they're actually giving very young girls double mastectomies. They want to castrate these young boys. That's wrong. And so we've stood up and said, both from the health and children well-being perspective, you don't disfigure 10, 12, 13-year-old kids based on gender dysphoria. 80% of it resolves anyways by the time they get older. So why would you be doing this? I think these doctors need to get sued for what's happening. I'm sorry.
Although children age 3, preschool age, most can correctly identify as I am a boy or I am a girl. Most children will not understand that a boy grows into a man and stays a man, or that a girl grows into a woman and stays a woman. If they see a man get into a dress and put on makeup, many 7-year-olds may believe he just became a woman. And the other side is not being honest. They're not acknowledging that. And this happened most recently in Rockland, California. It was the end of the kindergarten school year, and the kindergarten teacher called the whole class together. This was at the behest of the boys' parents, and had the whole class sit down, and she read them 2 gender, I will call them gender bending stories. One was the red crayon, in which you have a crayon that's actually blue wrapped in red paper. So that primes the kids to think, oh, what's on the outside doesn't have to match the inside. The next story the teacher read was I Am Jazz, which is about a boy whose parents helped him impersonate a girl from the age of 3. He now has his own television program. He's 17, but looks like a girl from the waist up. And following those 2 stories, I'll call him Joey, left the classroom, presumably to use the bathroom, and then came back into the classroom in a dress. And the teacher said, "Boys and girls, Joey is actually a girl just like Jazz. From now on, we need to call her Josephine." Again, I'm making the names up. But this was very confusing to the other children in kindergarten, and it terrified one girl in particular. She was home with her mother, had just bathed, got out of the tub, mom wraps her up, little girl goes by the mirror, her hair was slicked back. She burst into tears. "Mommy, am I turning into a boy? I don't want to turn into a boy. Joey turned into a girl. Am I going to turn into a boy?" Now, I know this because the mother called me. Again, as the president of the College of Pediatricians, I've been outspoken, so parents reach out to me. And this mother is being told that she is the one who's crazy. Her daughter is the one who is having a problematic reaction. This is insane. Okay, so transgender ideology, yes, it's child abuse because we are gaslighting our children, number one, and that's all children. And in gaslighting these children, many of them, now that they're thoroughly confused, will think that they really are the opposite sex, and they will be sent down a medical pathway. They will be, as they approach puberty, they'll be put on puberty blockers. And then from puberty blockers, they will be put on cross-sex hormones. That combination will permanently sterilize most, if not all, of those children, and also puts them at risk for heart disease, diabetes, various cancers. Girls now, if they have been on testosterone, which is their sex change hormone, if they've been on testosterone for a full year, by age 16, they can get a double mastectomy. So yes, pubertal castration, okay, so gaslighting, pubertal castration, and surgical mutilation, that's child abuse. It's institutionalized child abuse.
When people watch, and this is like, this is back in it was like 1979. I've talked about this book on my channel before. It's called 4 Arguments for the Elimination of Television. It's a guy named Gerrymander. He used to work in marketing for marketing agency, and he started doing it was kind of this book was based on his knowledge of marketing and the research technology that he did on how TV works and impacts your brain. And then he also kind of coupled it with what he saw with how it was affecting his kids. It's a really good book. And, basically when you watch TV, your brain goes into an alpha state. And this is regular TV, right? Before the HD and all this other stuff. So they've definitely gotten even more controlled with this technology. Not controlled, but like it's even more intense now and how it affects people. And you have things like people are getting further away from nature. They're moving in cities, they're on their phone all the time, they're constantly being exposed to these EMF waves. This basically affects your your psyche, your spirit, your physical health. And then I use this other clip in my conspiracy realist course. There's a guy who's two clips, two people that used to work at Facebook. And one guy is interesting. One guy seems to have like a smug, I think Sean Parker, he had a smug attitude about what he did, but it was another guy, Indian guy, his name is Charmath Palihapitiya. And he's talking about how they knew years ago what this technology was doing. He deeply regrets it.
I want to bring us back to the point that you were making about exploiting consumer behavior in a consumer internet business. You said that this is a time for soul searching in social media businesses, and you were part of building the largest one. What soul searching are you doing right now on that?
I feel tremendous guilt. I think we all knew in the back of our minds, even though we feigned this whole line of like, there probably aren't any really bad unintended consequences. I think in the back, deep recesses of our minds, we kind of knew something bad could happen. But I think the way we defined it was not like this. It literally is a point now where I think we have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works. That is truly where we are. And I would encourage all of you, as the future leaders of the world, to really internalize how important this is. If you feed the beast, that beast will destroy you. If you push back on it, we have a chance to control it and rein it in. And it is a point in time where people need to hard break from some of these tools and the things that you rely on. The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth. And it's not an American problem. This is not about Russian ads. This is a global problem. So we're in a really bad state of affairs right now, in my opinion. It is eroding the core foundations of how people behave by and between each other. And I don't have a good solution. You know, my solution is I just don't use these tools anymore. I haven't for years. It's created huge tension with my friends, huge tensions in my social circles. If you look at, like, you know, my Facebook feed, I've posted maybe 2 times in 7 years, 3 times, 5 times. It's less than 10. And it's weird. I guess I kind of just innately didn't want to get programmed. And so I just tuned it out. But I didn't confront it. And now to see what's happening, it really bums me out. Like, think about, like, there were these examples where there was a hoax in WhatsApp where in some, like, village in India, people were, like, afraid that their kids were going to get kidnapped, etc. And then there were these lynchings that happened as a result, where people were like vigilante running around. They think they found the person, and I mean, seriously? Like, that's what we're dealing with. You know, imagine, like, when you take that to the extreme, where, you know, bad actors can now manipulate large swaths of people to do anything you want. It's a really bad state of affairs. And we compound the problem, right? We curate our lives around this perceived sense of perfection because we get rewarded in these short-term signals, hearts, likes, thumbs up, and we conflate that with value and we conflate it with truth. And instead what it really is fake, brittle popularity that's short-term and that leaves you even more, and admit it, vacant and empty before you did it. Because then it forces you into this vicious cycle where you're like, what's the next thing I need to do now? Because I need it back. Think about that compounded by 2 billion people. And then think about how people react then to the perceptions of others. It's really bad. It's really bad.
It sounds like you're taking deep personal responsibility also in being a part of it.
I kind of, look, I did a great job there, and I think that business overwhelmingly does positive good in the world. Where I have decided to spend my time is to take the capital that they rewarded me with and now focus on the structural changes that I can control. I can't control that. I can control my decisions, which is I don't use this shit. I can control my kids' decisions, which is they're not allowed to use this shit. And then I can go focus on diabetes and education and climate change. And that's what I can do. But everybody else has to soul search a little bit more about what you're willing to do, because your behaviors, you don't realize it, but you are being programmed. It was unintentional, but now you got to decide how much you're willing to give up, how much of your intellectual independence. And don't think, oh yeah, not me, I'm fucking genius, I'm at Stanford. You're probably the most likely to fucking fall for it. Because you were fucking checkboxing your whole goddamn life. No offense, guys.
None taken.
You can tell like he's about to cry when he's just talking about like, I don't use this shit anymore. My kids don't use it, you know, and I know the effect that this has on the society. And, you know, when I was lifting too, Facebook is in Austin, and I would talk to a lot of people from Facebook, and I would drive a lot of them to work. And I met this one guy who was telling me, and they signed like NDAs and shit. Like they can't really talk about it, but he was just saying, I'll put it this way. You know, he goes, I hate humanity now. Just the shit that I've seen on Facebook. And I'm guessing he's on the back end or something. I don't know. But I mean, what it's done to society. Now, what Prince says is true. We're using it, but we're not letting it use us.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to be aware, especially now. You know, I'm taking steps within my life to move further and further out of the matrix. And it's a process, especially if you are used to living with technology and living in cities and being dependent. I'm slowly but surely making strides to become less dependent on this stuff. But it also is a blessing. I wouldn't have met you if it wasn't for the internet. I wouldn't have met a lot of people I know because of the internet. You know, then the internet did wake a lot of people up, and I think they initially did create the controllers, right? As a tool to control people, which has worked to a certain degree, but they didn't really anticipate that we would use it
another way.
to
That's
fight against
and now,
in another way.
And that's why they brought in censorship, because it's backfiring on them, you know. And thought they was gonna keep you down by cutting this off, shutting that off, and you still keep going. And as you keep going, you make another connection.
Yeah.
That connection connects, and then it spread. We spread, you know, the knowledge. Once you know, you can't unknow. Once you hear the truth and you got it, you know, that's why, you know, I think your name is already something that is just instant shadow ban. Truthertalk.
They're like, fuck this bitch. You ain't going nowhere.
You know, then,
I've been at like 40...
anything truth in it is just like, okay, they already got, we know where they coming from.
Yeah.
But really, people do, as much as they try to, you would think that people run from the truth, but eventually you're innately, as a human being, you want the truth though. So a lot of people don't like it, but they still rather have the truth and go ahead and deal with it. Truth is bitter. It's a hard pill to swallow, but you got to swallow it, and you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off.
Yes, exactly. You know,
right? Yeah,
the truth. Yeah, but first it will piss you off, but it will set you free. And I think, you know, breaking away from the matrix, I think I have to start doing more videos about it to help people, because I'm pretty much pretty good at it. You know, I just use it when I need to use it, but when I ain't on it, when I'm not doing this and I'm not in front of the camera, I'll turn on something old and watch something crazy, some old sitcoms, because I said, I gotta get out of, you can't control me like that. I don't need to watch your new shit, because I know what it's about. You know, if you got gay characters in it, I'm definitely not watching it, because I know I don't need to see that.
Support your people. Just kidding.
That ain't my people. I don't need to, you know, I don't have a people. It ain't another person like me. So I'm going like, if I want to see me on the TV, put me on there. I don't need, nothing represents me, you know, unless you put another person on there that's going to tell the truth, but you're not going to put that on there. So other than since I know that's not going to be there, I'm not going to, you know, but you're not going to put, I don't need to see, you know, this whole thing about, you know, they make people think it's also, you have to look at the MK Ultra sayings they put out here. It's, you know, MK Ultra is, they do it with hashtags and everything. You know, you want to see people that look like you. Well, nobody looks like me. I mean, you know, with this nose. So, you know, but let me, I think we never explained this. VIRSTYNE is so used to it, but it's my shtick. I'm not hiding. It's my shtick. It's part of my brand. and I love it. So, but if this ain't on TV, I don't need to see nobody with this. There's only one me, but they make us believe and think that we need to see someone on there that looks like us to feel like we belong. No, I don't. I need a good
because
story.
somebody looks like us, that they have our best interest in mind.
Absolutely.
And that's not true. And because somebody doesn't look like us, they don't have our best interest in mind.
Yeah.
So that's the mind game. It's straight up just sorcery. It's fucking sorcery.
Exactly. It's like I can watch a show with it can be all white characters. I'm fine with that. I can watch a show with all Asian. Like I'm gonna tell you, I watched this movie. They told me I need to go watch the Joy Luck Club. It was much better.
Oh my God, this is one of my favorite movies. It's so good. You better get a box of Kleenex like this thing.
I haven't watched it. I watched these Crazy Rich Asians. I watched that.
Oh, that was a cute movie.
I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I thought it was fantastic the way it was done. And then you could see how Asian people, they only take it so far when they get irate and how they act there, just culturally how they work. You were not going to write nothing in here and have them just, cussing each other out, because that's not how they are as a culture, So at least they didn't allow, they did put a little bit of stretch in there. But I like that one character that was in there that had that black scent that people got upset with her. But I loved how she
was great. Yeah, the girl that was
her.
She was amazing. She was phenomenal. I wasn't offended. She was great.
But see, they tried to, the social justice warriors came at her about that. And she sat there and she said, oh, well, I guess it's a thing. She didn't care.
Yeah, she didn't say anything about
it. She making money with it. She ain't gonna change it because y'all don't like it, And I loved it. I love that how she said, "Oh well."
There are Asian people like that. I've had
a bunch of them like that.
Blacker than me.
I thought it was, but I thought it was. I enjoyed that movie, and I said I like to watch movies like that. It was like I don't need to see a movie with an all black cast. That doesn't. If it's an all black cast, don't make it a good movie. They got so many bad movies that are all black cast. It's ridiculous. They got more of those that are bad than good.
They're good.
I'm going so what's the point of that?
Have you seen Soul Food, the movie?
Soul Food?
Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
The movie? Okay, so what is your take? I wanted to know because this kind of pissed me off. My cousins and I were,
Actually, I just watched it again and I had a different appreciation for it because I like the fact that it did show the family unit, even though they showed some dysfunctions in there, but it showed the strength of a family and that the mother, who was a widow because her husband died, and
that held it together.
She died, and then I love the character. I watched it and I loved it when it came out in the 90s, but I just recently watched it again. And I said, they'll never make a movie like that again. Not for Black people, because they don't, family is not supposed to, they didn't have no LGBT. They had one in there that was a hairdresser, but he played his part because that's how they, but that was it. But he didn't have no, it wasn't all that like they did. They had that
the movie wasn't about that.
Yeah,
it was about
he just was a gay hairdresser. So there are,
and it's and gay people have lives outside of being gay.
Yeah,
it's not all about being gay. Like you guys like puppies and bake cookies and shit.
Yeah.
So, you're not gay.
It wasn't
another gay day. You're you're human.
Appreciation of it. I really did, and I thought it was just great. Of course, I love Vanessa Williams. I really do. She keeps a job. I guess I like her because she does keep a job. That woman has worked. She keeps a job, but as long as there's a chick, she gonna go get it. Now she has done a few things that disappointed me, but I still like her. And I don't really. I'm not a big celebrity person anyway. So I mean, even though that doesn't mean I'm not like what you call it. Celebrity, I don't need to go see her and all that kind of stuff. I'm not into celebrity.
I mean, they're people that weave their lives around that shit.
Yeah,
that's when it gets unhealthy.
Yeah, I can't be like that.
They live vicariously through them, and that's again, that's another distraction. That this idol worship that we have in culture.
Yeah,
is it allows people to forget about their own problems and not deal with problems. And then people don't revolt, right? When you control people that way too. Yeah. Why are all these gossip magazines right in the checkout aisle? at the store about all these celebrities and stuff. You know, people need to get food, people need to eat. So if you're at the grocery store, mostly everybody goes to the grocery store. Even during COVID, that was one of the grocery stores stayed open because people needed to get food. But you know, these gossip magazines and these celebrity magazines are always like right out at the checkout line.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like people, it's easier for people to live vicariously and get angry and get involved in these idols' lives than really deal with their own stuff. But just going back to soul food, I hated the message. It started off good, but I got into it with my cousin one time, remember, because this is a spoiler alert if you guys have not seen it. So I might want to fast forward if you think, but Vanessa Williams' character, her husband, her sister stole her boyfriend from her in high school.
Yes.
And then, you know, because of it, and then her cousin comes on along and sleeps with her current husband.
Yes.
And this character is a hard worker, and they just treat her like shit. And that was the thing that really pissed me off about that movie. And they're just like, oh, you're so stuck up and snobby. And they would always just come down on her. You're such a hard ass. I'm like, yeah, because people are just totally disrespecting her. She's a hard worker, you know, and then at the end, that pissed me off though, when even though her cousin sleeps with her current husband, and they're like, oh, what family is family? And she's like, the family fucked my husband. But then the message of the movie to me was like, oh, it doesn't matter, you know, how your family treats you. If they're family, you should always stick together. I didn't like that message. It pissed me off.
You know, and now that you say that, now
that's what pissed me off. And I'm just like, fuck that movie.
I didn't like the way
right.
I didn't like the way Vanessa's character was, because it made her look like, you know, just totally ripped her apart because of, you know, her love life. And when she said the line, everything I love, I lose, and I felt my heart sank for her character and how they did that. And then the fact that, you know, and they made her like this hard ass as if she was pushing her husband away. She wanted her, you know, she didn't support his music career when he was very talented with that, you know, and I could understand a realization of a dynamic like that. But
they just made her out to be the villain, and I don't think it was fair.
A villain because she was accomplished, and she made a lot of money, and she did fund a lot of things for the family, and everybody her for
and
it.
they just shit on her. They just
shit on her.
And then Vivica Fox, she, you know, like she stole her boyfriend in high school, and like she has to watch that, like, and she has a good relationship, and the boyfriend, so they married each other, and the character has to watch the man that she loved in high school and her sister together. I just thought
the kids, and she don't have any kids.
Like I just felt so bad for her, and then at the end she's supposed to forgive her cousin that just like cheated. And they're just like, oh, shut up, family. You have to get over that. Family is family. I was like,
which I get, you know, Buddhism taught me about family. You know, when I studied Buddhism, it gave me a good, Buddhism puts you in a really different place when it comes to people. Well, they just let you realize that everybody around you are just people, you know. Everybody they're people, whether you're related to them, blood related, family or people. And you can, and the thing is, just because you're blood related doesn't mean that you have to put up with them and tolerate them and be in their lives because you're related to them. No, if they don't act accordingly, you can cut them off and go about business, because that's what you would do with any other person, any other people in life. Just because you should expect more for someone if they're blood related to you. We give too many people with blood that are blood related to us. We give them too much passes. We give too many passes when they're just, you know, we need to treat them just like people. If you're gonna act an ass and disrespect me or whatever, well, we don't have to deal. And I'm okay with that. You know, just because we're related don't mean anything. So I guess when I studied Buddhism, that's helped me with that. I mean, but that's my take on it. But some people may look at it differently when it comes to, they would, you know, family. I mean, I love family. I'm a family person, but I feel like, but when family treats you like
Crap.
crap,
They don't
and
get a pass because they're family.
and then they don't have no remorse over it, don't feel like, well, I was unfair to that person.
Yeah.
They feel like you're supposed to turn around and just be, no, I don't have to do that. I don't have to play that game. So I don't have to do that, and be okay with it,
Yeah. I'm going to take it back just to cover a couple of things and then we kind of wrap it up. But I wanted to talk about, we didn't really get into like the whole demonic Satan aspect of homosexuality and child molestation and the transgender agenda. So what are your thoughts on that?
And see, I think when it comes to the demonic, because I don't want anyone to think we're saying if you're gay or trans, you're a demon.
Yeah, exactly. I want to clarify that. Or you're going to hell. I don't believe that shit.
We're not saying that.
You're not a bad person or evil person. No.
Yeah, they're using you in a demonic way. And using the lifestyle in a demonic way to do dangerous things, bad things, because things that are good, God is good, truth is the light, it comes from God. Anything that's negative, bad, destructive, destroying, the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. It's satanic. So they're using the gay agenda to break down society, to sexualize children. So it's a demonic force there. So that's what I hope is that what you were thinking? It's like how.
Yeah. And I'm glad you clarified that because I was going to clarify that too, because, as we talked before, it is a hard lifestyle and they're trying to like glamorize it. And especially as you get older, a lot of my friends, like they want to have kids, it's natural no matter what your orientation is to want to procreate and leave your seed and have your legacy go on and to have kids and want to protect kids. I think that, kind of also if you study occultism too, they do worship Baphomet, and Baphomet is kind of supposed to be like kind of this
it's
transgender. Transgender or androgynous.
Yes.
Right?
It has boobs up here, but a castrated or something down there, but it's not a vagina. And and that's the Baphomet. That's what that.
Well, some interpretations of it too. He has like the staff in front of where the penis is supposed to be, but it's not a penis. It's like a stick. So is that stick? A lot of people say it's because he was castrated, and the stick is supposed to be like the fake pseudo phallus or something.
Oh wow! Well, the Baphomet is a demonic entity. I mean, it's a demonic thing. It's like that's what Satanists, that's their worship, that's their god. It's the Baphomet, and that's one of the reasons why this trans thing that they're doing, and they're promoting it, and I and it's a twofold thing too. And I'm going like, I don't understand why. I'm going like, if we supposed to celebrate trans and all this, and then all the switcheroos in Hollywood. If the switcheroos will come on out and say, we really are a man, we're really trans, and live their truth. But see, they can't, because the truth, what the devil likes to do, the devil is the master of deception. They gotta, they can't come out and tell their truth, because the truth is what? The light. So they gotta be deceptive.
Dark.
It's important that they keep the deception going. So it's important that we think Cher is really a female, and that's a man.
And all these kids that are, I was trolling some comment section. I forgot. I think it was like something where they're like, meet this 10-year-old trans person, and like, or you pay respect to this 10-year-old trans person. I think that was the name of the video, something like that. And I was like, this is child abuse. And then this kid wrote me, and I was like, this is child abuse. I forgot exactly what I said, but I was like, this is child abuse. And when these kids get older, they're going to regret it. And they're going to, be so like, they're going to be livid at the people that did this to them.
Yeah.
So this person wrote me, and he was like, yeah, 13-year-old trans person here. I'm not going to regret it. I was like, you're 13. You're 13. and I'm going to get a little graphic here, but you're not going to be able to have sexual sensations. The hormones and stuff they put you on give you, heart problems, osteoporosis, like,
weight
fuck up your bones.
off.
A lot of people, by the time, especially if you're starting stuff when you're a kid, by the time you get in your 30s and stuff, you're probably going to be in a wheelchair from the damage of the stuff. If you are going on this hormone therapy, your genitals aren't going to grow large enough to have a proper operation anyway, and there's so many complications of this operation. It's experimental. I ran across this I can't think of her name, who was a woman that had a sex change, and she ended up having like 6 inches of hair growing in her inside of her uterus as a side effect from all the hormone therapy that she was on. And they're it's even taking it to like the doctors that are telling the parents, oh, your kid is suicidal, probably because they've had some sexual trauma or some other stuff going on, or they're just maybe a victim of the propaganda. And they're, a lot of parents let the TV babysit their kids too. They don't pay attention to their kids, and they're putting all these subliminal messages in the video games. They're putting all these chemicals in the food that's messing with people's psyche, and they're, I really believe, you get a chemical attack too. It dampens, it pokes holes in your auric field, and you're more susceptible to negative suggestion, whether you believe it is just alpha waves through the TV or demonic forces or dark forces, entities. And especially if you're a kid, you don't have any other role models, your parents are just letting the TV babysit you, you're going to be subject to this stuff. And I hope that kid really takes, I hope they decide not to do it, to get off the stuff, because I can't see if anybody, especially starting that young, that will that won't regret it. I think a lot of people are going to, and then, they don't tell you that the suicide rates go up after the people have had the sex change operation. So they try to make it sound like it's this life-saving thing where, oh, you can save a life. It's a fairy tale. It's a fucking fairy tale. It's a demonic fairy tale. It's worse than the Brothers Grimm.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, I don't know. It's definitely, it's pushed so hard. There's a bigger force, that is pushing us into existence, and they're going after the kids now. And, I think this is where, I draw the line for sure. If people wanted to do it, fine. I mean, I still have my opinion, even as an adult, especially now, kind of making the connection that I think that a lot of this is rooted in sexual trauma. And people will have the argument, will say, oh, well, the Native Americans they've had 2 spirits, or the Thai people, like they've, but I'm like, who's to say that their society wasn't corrupted and they don't have a lot of sexual trauma going there? Like, sex has been around since the beginning of man. So, and then when you get into MK Ultra, is another thing I kind of want to talk about. You study the origins of MK Ultra, it started with psychedelics, right? Making people more susceptible. Their minds are open. Like, psychedelics can be very healing too for trauma. But if you are traumatized and you are under the negative influences, it can also be very detrimental. And one of the things that, when MK Ultra was being created, started with Operation Paperclip, where they had a lot of the Nazis come in. Did you know about this? I don't know, I'm rambling. I mean, I'm telling this for the people who are listening, but do you know about this Operation Paperclip?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just, for people watching. So during World War II, Germany, the Nazis, they were on the cutting edge of technology. They were a very technologically advanced society, even more so than America. And they had a lot of scientists in Germany at the time that were doing research. And after the war, where, a lot of these scientists were captured, and they were vying for, what do they call it? When you're like a refugee, but there's a word for it. I can't think of the name. Anyway, they were vying for what country to go to. All right. Some went to different countries, but America got a lot of them, and they called it Operation Paperclip, where they basically paid these signs this way to America, put them up, paid them to care their families, and they allowed them to continue doing the research that they were doing. And a lot of them were doing research on mind control, whether it was through torture or drugs. And what they would do is they would find that a lot of people, if they tortured them long enough and hard enough and severe enough, they would actually disassociate, and they were able to create different personalities. Because that normally, that's, it's kind of a defense mechanism that people have to compartmentalize things. It's a survival mechanism, but they basically weaponized it and used it as a way, mind control, where they can control people. So people will disassociate and create a whole nother personality to get away from the trauma that happened to them. So they figured out how to control this and make people do that, but then they programmed them to do things like be spies or to be monarchs or to be sex slaves. Like it's sick. So I kind of also think that with this whole sexual trauma, this whole kind of ideology is trying to be pushed on society on a larger scale too. And maybe they're not, so you have all these people that have been traumatized, right? So now you traumatize everybody, you make it so it's normalized. Now you put chemicals in foods and stuff, and then you program them via television and TV programs and iPhones, scrying mirrors. And then when you create a pandemic, right, you make people dependent on this stuff. They're not going to question it. So it goes really deep. It's really deep. They're working it on all levels. And then look at the money they're going to make. Look at all the money they make fucking up a kid, making them think they're trans at 13. And by the time they turn 18, they realize, I don't like this. I don't want this. Then you have to go back to them for them to try to switch you back and give you a bunch of other psychological drugs, which is going to be even more dangerous. It's going to eventually kill you, cause other kind of health problems, and you have to keep going to the doctor. They make more money off of it. It's all about making money and also destroying and depopulating people. It's really very sad at on how sick this is, because when you look at Jazz Jennings and you look at how fucked up she is, it was all great. It was all great. And she was so pretty and she looked just like a female when she first got a TV show. Now she's like a fat man with long hair, with a pot belly. Thank you for watching our special presentation. Humanity is being manipulated and preyed upon by oligarchs who not only want to destroy human beings, but all life as we know it. We are taking a stand to provide you with empowering information so you can defeat these monsters and help turn the tide. Truth or Talk is sponsored by you, the people. This presentation took over 80 hours to create. If you would like to see more of these, you can support us by purchasing merchandise, donating, or becoming a member on our website. To stay informed and empowered, join our newsletter below. Thank you for watching, and peace, truth, and love.